is up, guys? Welcome back or welcome to my channel. This is your first time. This is my channel, Pixie Dust and Spirit Alchemy, where we talk about all sorts of things taboo, occult, spiritual, magical, any sort of things in that category. Happy 2020, everybody. Cool year in numerology, right? The last time that 3 of the same digits were in a year in a row together like this was 1011. And then the next time won't be until 3033. Quick numerology. This is not a numerology video, but quick little tangent on numerology. It's interesting because if you add up the numbers of 2 of 2022, 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 6, you get a transitional number in numerology, 6. And if you do the same for 1011, you get 3. Which is also a transitional number, and then fast forward a bunch of years to 3033, where you add 3, 3, and 3, you'll get 9. So symbolically, numerologically speaking, those 3 years over thousands of years, or a little over 1,000 years, are very influential in just the transitions of life. And I don't know to what extent, really, this video isn't about that, but it being 2022 and 22 being my favorite number ever, I just felt the need to share that information with you guys. So I hope everyone's New Year's off to a great start. Mine has been unexpected. I got COVID, but symptoms weren't that bad. Second time having it, and I did a lot of self-reflecting during quarantine, which was much needed, and also started some yoga classes, some Kundalini yoga. So that might tie into my YouTube at some point. We'll see. So hope everyone is well. I know it just seems like everybody's dealing with stress to some extent. Part of life's undulations. It's only temporary, but I feel in my heart and in my soul, hopefully not naively or too hopefully, that this will be a good year. At least personally. Hopefully for the year, hopefully for the world as a whole, too, and hopefully for you, yourself personally, and for individuals personally, but I don't know. Seems like it's got to be a better year than last year. Knock on wood. So anyways, guys, today's video I wanted to make about the daily practice in Wealth Magick. Really kind of the importance of the daily practice, going over what it is, why it's used, what it is, how we use it, and stuff like that. So let's get started. Now, I know if you guys have been on my channel or if you're here because of Wealth Magick, then you may or may not have seen some of my other videos on Wealth Magick, whether it's my own experience or if you go into my playlists. There's a collaborated Wealth Magick podcast series going on in there. We are currently working on uploading the 6th ritual episode. It might be the 7th episode, but the episode on the 6th ritual, which will be posted, the 5th ritual, which will be posted this month, hopefully soon, within this week, or next week since it's the weekend. So stay tuned for that. But in those podcast series, there is a video that discusses the daily practice in the beginning. So if you have listened to that, great. I definitely recommend listening to it if you have not, or going back and listening to it if the daily practice is something that you're still, have questions over or struggling with, or it's just a good thing to be reminded of anyways. In addition to that, though, I wanted to make my own video on just what the daily practice is, how I did it, my experience with it, and go from there. I'm part of a Wealth Magick Discussions Facebook group, and I know some of my followers might be, some of you may have found me from there, actually, which also, if you're interested, my Facebook is the same name as Pixie Dust, so if you're looking for me on Facebook, I will be in that group under that name. So, in that group, though, I've noticed some questions that people have about simply starting the daily practice. Like, what is this? And get out of that on there. Anyways, I've seen some people post questions about what the daily practice is, or they read it and they just still can't understand it for whatever reason, and that's okay. It's one of those things where it's almost so simple that it's overly complex. If your mind is anything like mine, you have a tendency to overthink things. Anything. And this could very easily be one of those things. So now, if you're not familiar with Wealth Magick or the daily practice or anything, thank you for watching this video anyways. Maybe it's not of interest to you, or maybe it will inspire you to start the Wealth Magick journey on your own. So now this is the book that I'm referring to from the Gallery of Magic. Damon Brand specifically wrote it. And the daily practice is the first practice of this book, really, before you get into any of the other rituals, before you're actually doing magic, like spell magic, I guess. You're doing the daily practice. But then again, maybe I shouldn't say that, because the daily practice is in itself magic, and this book states that as well. So just to keep it simple and tell you straight up what the daily practice involves in the beginning is, before you get into the book, you're supposed to take 3 weeks of doing only the daily practice. 3 weeks, and no other magic, no other wealth, no other prosperity magic, no other, I don't think any other sort of magic at all. Just so you can solely focus on this practice. This energetic transmutation is essentially what it is, or emotional transmutation. So now, like I said, it's very simple. Essentially, the daily practice begins where you take a minute. It could take as little as 10 seconds. It could take a minute or 5, or however long you care to entertain each section of it. And also, just so you know, I'm not saying anything that's not in this book already. Like, all the information that I put out in my videos, unless it's like my own personal experience, anything aside from that is from these books. I'm not getting any other information from other sources that is not available to you and to the readers and practitioners of Wealth Magick. So, just so you know. But the daily practice, you take a minute in your day and think about how you feel. So you think about how we feel. And they say in the book that you can write down your emotions, make a list, categorizing specifically what I feel. Do I feel happy? Do I feel sad? Do I feel anxious? Honestly, for me, a lot of the times I feel slightly anxious, so I say that, or I think that. But not always. If I'm not anxious, I'm not going to say that I'm anxious just because that's what I may feel generally. Whatever your emotion is, feel it. Notice it. Become aware of it. Even if it's anger, even if it's rage, even if it's shame or guilt, or remorse or something, or a heavy emotion. Just become aware of it. And then wherever you are, they say in the book not to do this while you're driving, but it could be done on a train. Basically, they don't want you to be focused on something else, something that could involve, be life-threatening, like a car accident, and by focusing on the daily practice, because that really would be a bummer for your magic if you got in a car accident trying to do magic while driving. Let's be responsible, guys. Hopefully no one's done that. But they say not to do it, just to stay focused, not to do it like when you're busy doing something else. So after you think about how you feel, after you gather these emotions, you're supposed to notice the beauty in everything. The beauty in your day-to-day surroundings. And then after that, before I go there, with this sense of beauty, it's supposed to create an emotion of awe, almost like a childlike innocence of seeing something for the first time, noticing the moon for the first time, noticing, nature. And it doesn't even have to be as a child, just that childlike state of awe, like, wow, this is beautiful, and we are surrounded by beauty constantly. And then after that, after the emotions and the beauty, the awareness of beauty, we ask ourselves and believe to ourselves, how did I become so wealthy? Why am I so wealthy? How did I become this wealthy? Why am I this wealthy? And that's it. And then we let it fade, and we resume with our day, whatever we were doing. So now, why is this important? Because the Gallery Magic stresses its importance in this book. It says not to even partake in any other magic during this time. It says, just emphasizes the focus on this. And for a lot of people beginning the Wealth Magic journey, for myself included, I wasn't already wealthy. I mean, if I come across Wealth Magic and have a desire, inclination of completing it, it's probably not because I'm satisfied with where I am in a monetary, financial, or wealth sense. You know what I mean? And because of that, though, because we haven't been used to living a life of wealth, perhaps, or the wealth that we wish to live, it's easy to end up in a scarcity mindset or a lack mindset and attract lack because we say, oh, I'm broke, I can't do that, or I'm constantly worrying about the money that's coming in not being enough for, bills or for groceries or for our luxuries, whatever we like to do for fun. Just that anxious fear of not trusting that more money will flow in and that our needs will be met, that they are already met. And so the daily practice allows us to begin shifting our mindset from one of lack to one of wealth. By achieving this awareness, considering our feelings, and entering in or recognizing the beauty around us, it hopefully allows us to be present in the present moment. And then we ask ourselves, how did I become so wealthy? As if it is already ours. As if we've already gotten the wealth that we desire. Because that's the key in manifesting, is to not obsess about it. Think about it regularly. This is the daily practice. You're supposed to do it every day. And with practice, I always go back to that. As a music teacher too, I always go back to the saying, repetition strengthens and confirms. So by doing this practice daily, it's strengthening and confirming not only our belief that we are wealthy and that there are beautiful surroundings around us. Not only is it confirming the belief, but it is also confirming the reality. The shifting reality. The reality, it's alchemizing reality and shifting it, allowing the magic to enter into our lives so that we can be the people that attract wealth. In addition to this, the daily practice and these thoughts that we think that are involved is an alchemization of emotion and of thought, of emotional energy and of mental energy. Because before we do the daily practice, we're probably not already in a state of awe. If we are, great, that makes it a little bit easier. But if we're not, then we have to get there. We have to shift from whatever we were feeling before into an awestruck state of being by the beauty around us, right? And then shifting further into the belief that wealth is already ours, and perhaps even feeling gratitude that it has become ours and for this wealth that is in our grasp. So you're shifting from one end of the spectrum to another end of the spectrum, essentially. Polarity, right? Shifting from one end of polarity to another. And with a daily practice, it gets easier, hopefully, and strengthens every day. And you don't only do it for the first 3 weeks of Wealth Magic. No, you do it throughout the entire book, which can take a long time. If you do it every day, I think it takes up maybe 5 or 6 months back to back to back if you don't miss any days. For me, I missed a lot of days, both times that I've done Wealth Magic. In between, not like so a lot, but a couple days in between, just because life gets busy and sometimes I don't have the energy to do the magic that I want to put into it that day. And so it'll take me a little bit longer to complete the whole ritual. But throughout that whole time, I'm still doing the daily practice. Now, if you miss a day of the daily practice, if your mind's elsewhere, that's fine. Don't stress about it. Don't restart, Wealth Magick, like all the rituals. If you're in the middle of the rituals, don't restart or backtrack because of that. Just keep going and resume as if, and if you remember, even if it's like 11:59 at night, and you're like, it's midnight, I gotta get in today, then think about it really quick, if you can. And if not, it's okay. Try again tomorrow. But that energetic transmutation is honestly sort of symbolic of kind of a very smaller scale of foreshadowing of what the entire ritual of Wealth Magick, or what the entire book does, right? Because we begin this transmutation with the daily practice, but essentially what's happening with the whole book, all 7 rituals, is a transmutation of energy on a larger scale. Attraction growing tenfold, or coming to us tenfold as to what the daily practice can achieve, but the daily practice acts as the foundation for the rest of it to grow on. Now, I had a thought the other day, because I myself am in the latter end of completing a second round of Wealth Magick right now, which is something I haven't been super vocal about, just because, doesn't need to be shared always, but whatever, if you want to, great. It is really cool to see people in the Wealth Magick discussions group share where they're at in their journey, and sometimes strength in numbers helps. When you log on there and see other people doing the daily practice or sharing their thoughts on it, or on another ritual, it's more motivation and inspiration to keep going ourselves, because this is a big ritual. This is serious magic. And I had this thought the other day that I did post in the Wealth Magick group, and because even though, with this round of Wealth Magick, maybe I'll make another video on this, but this round of Wealth Magick has been different than the last time I did it. Just because, I was already sort of experiencing some of the results from the first time, and now it's like leveling up, and honestly, life is changing, getting me to where I need to be, but within there becomes some destruction and crumbling of things that no longer serve me. And within these months of doing it, I have experienced some financial stress and lack, and my mindset hasn't necessarily always been trusting and grateful, and yeah, and that's okay. I mean, not forever, if you do have that mindset in the middle of magic, you want to be at least aware of it so that you know to get out, and that maybe realize that this could be a problem for my manifestations to actually manifest. But I was thinking the other day that if we struggle perhaps with the daily practice, and usually what people struggle with the most are possibly identifying the feelings that they feel at that time, because that's a challenge, It's hard to say a feeling. And I was told along the road years ago that good is not a feeling. Tired is not a feeling. Fine is not a feeling. So for me, whenever I'm identifying my feelings in the daily practice, I try to stay far away from those words, because I feel like they're filler words. It's like saying or just it's not a true emotion. Like if somebody says, I'm fine, I was also told from this similar place that fine means fucked up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. And half the time I find that to be true whenever I myself am saying, I'm fine. So hopefully you're not fucked up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional, but if you are, maybe say that instead, Say that instead of I'm fine for the daily practice. But people tend to struggle with identifying their emotions, and they tend to struggle with finding the beauty in the mundane, which is probably where I struggle with the most in this, because amidst the changes taking place, I have grown a little more impatient with where I currently live, and how I realize my desire to no longer be here, because it's just not the prettiest place. There are other places that I would love to live that are prettier environmentally, and like where I am now, I've been here my whole life, and I definitely don't want to stay here. And so sometimes a lot of it is based on my mindset, but sometimes it becomes a struggle to find beauty around here. Like, honestly. But what I think these struggles really symbolize and indicate within ourselves, if we're struggling to identify our emotions, or if we're struggling to see beauty in the mundane, of even the trees that are being planted, even if it's a dead tree in the winter, it's still a tree, and trees are beautiful. But perhaps these struggles that we have with the daily practice are indicative of blocks within ourselves. If I'm really struggling that hard to find the beauty in the mundane around me every single day, what is that saying about my mental state? You know, if I'm uncomfortable identifying the emotions that I'm feeling at this time, you know, whether it be a normal day where I'm not necessarily feeling anything extreme, or I am, if I'm having trouble understanding that, or maybe not even wanting to accept the emotions I'm feeling, I feel that is also very much indicative of a blockage or feeling of lack that we subconsciously may be carrying still. So hopefully by doing the daily practice, and it is a practice, hopefully by doing the daily practice we can emerge out of these blocked mindsets, of these blocked emotions and feelings and blockages wherever they may lie, and start to believe and trust ourselves and trust the magic and trust the universe that, you know, it is gonna, there's no reason to have these blockages, you know, whether it's a bad habit that is financially damaging to one's bank account, you know, like if you're addicted to gambling or something, or just a state of mind that we can't seem to get out of. You know, hopefully with this daily practice it's a simple enough transmutation to where we can slightly shift, even if it's only for those 10 seconds or for a minute, where we can slightly shift into the feelings of gratitude and of wealth and of things going our way and working in our direction. And that is where we will find the most success with the rest of our magic. Is if we can break free from these shackles that we've, whether it's old thought paradigms that we've grown up with, you know, or whether it's creating a brand new perspective on what wealth means to us and how we want to achieve it. Whatever it is, we can release these old things. We can. It's very possible. This is something that I've had to learn myself, too, while doing this. You know, I mean, just because I make these videos doesn't mean I'm any more human. Like, I am still a human. I'm just, you know, a human that makes these videos and talks about it. And you know, I haven't always been so confident in the way that I do magic. You know, sometimes I still have questions, and that's why we have this Wealth Magick discussions page on Facebook, and it's why other magic groups out there exist, so that you can communicate with other people and see what their experience was or what they learned, so that you can apply it and take note of that and, you know, take it or leave it. So I don't want to go on and on. I feel like I could go on and on about the daily practice because it's as simple as it is. Like I said, there is a lot that could be said because it is of the utmost importance to be done appropriately, successfully, not perfectly, but appropriately and successfully at least. Because if we put pressure on ourselves to do it perfectly, you know, not miss a day and beat ourselves up for missing a day, then just stop that. Just stop that negative and cut it out. Give yourself a break. Take it easy on yourself. I am a perfectionist to a fault, and I've had to learn last year too to not be, basically. You know, like perfectionism will probably always be a perfectionist to an extent, but to a fault, well, then it's a fault. And, you know, it's not necessarily something that is good. So, anyways, guys, the daily practice. I hope y'all have gotten something from this. I don't really want to go back and recap everything, but just to finalize or conclude what I've been talking about, the Gallery of Magic says in the book where I highlighted here, it says, okay, just a note on if you struggle with a sense of feeling or a sense of beauty, it says, imagine that you've been deprived of your senses for a year. Imagine if you could not see, hear, touch, taste, or smell anything for a year. Imagine how glorious it would be to look at the filthiest corner of the dirtiest street, to touch the grime and smell the rot. It would be pure joy. Now, I know I smiled when I said filthiest corner and dirtiest street, but they do have a point. If you haven't sensed anything for a year, and that's the first sensation you touch, you're like, a blind man seeing for the first time. Like, oh my God, yay, joy, ah. And then they also go on to say that the daily practice requires you to find joy in the moment wherever you are. This is magic. And it is. Because magic is energy work. It takes whatever we put into magic energetically, does numbers on the results that we will achieve through it and with it. So there will always, always be something, some beauty to find for you, some emotion to identify. And when you've done that, and then ask yourself how you became so wealthy. Why are you so wealthy? Why am I so wealthy? Why is everyone so wealthy? When you do that, you've done the daily practice. And then after 3 weeks, you can start with the rest of Wealth Magic. Continuing the daily practice as you go. So don't overcomplicate it, guys. Do not overthink it. I know this was like a pretty long video on just like a 10-second little ritual type thing, but there's a lot that could be said about it. And I wanted to share this. I felt like it. Hopefully you could answer some questions for people, or just maybe give some more insight into what it is if you never really questioned it that thoroughly. And if you're unfamiliar with Wealth Magic, thank you for watching this if you did make it all the way through. And just fun fact, if you wanted to use this daily practice for another purpose outside of Wealth Magic, it could be just as successful, because finding those feelings and seeing the beauty is bringing you back to the present moment. So that's already grounding in and of itself and bringing a certain state of awareness to you. And then, if you weren't doing Wealth Magic and you wanted to maybe ask another question, like, how did I come to be so blessed? Maybe. Or, I know some of us like to connect with divine higher selves, higher state of beings. You could ask, how did I come to hear my divine self so clearly? And that connects you to another state of being, not necessarily Wealth Magic related, but I'm just an example that the daily practice could be used for a number of different subjects, topics, or practices. Honestly, I'm grateful to the Gallery of Magic and Damon Brand for this whole book, yes, but also just the daily practice in the first place. I mean, because it is something, once you're mindful of it, and having to remember to do it every day over the course of like even 3 weeks or 6 months, that's a struggle, But just like anything, I mean, for musicians out there, if you practice your instrument every day, even if it's for 30 minutes a day or not that much time or longer, you're going to improve, because repetition strengthens and confirms. And not even just, that's just one example, but that could be with practicing sports, practicing writing, practicing whatever it is you practice. The daily practice of it builds confidence, belief, trust, and probably some other things too. But that's about where I will end this today. Guys, thank you so much again for watching this video, if you made it through. We do, like I said, have another Wealth Magic podcast coming up this month. It's in the final editing stages and will be on my channel here shortly, hopefully. And I'm glad I could get this video out as the first video of 2022. There are more in store. There's a couple that, well, whatever. I'll get them out when I get them out, so how about that? But I hope the rest of your January is wonderful and magical. If you have any questions over the daily practice or of Wealth Magick, feel free to email me. My email is, I think, in my bio. If not, then I will put it there. But also, I'm on the Facebook page in the Wealth Magick discussions group, just pixie dust. There's a picture of Raven from Teen Titans as the icon. And I'm also on Instagram, PD Spirit Alchemy, or at PD Spirit Alchemy. That link is definitely in my bio. So check it out. Comment your own experience and questions, remarks, love, hate comments, not hate towards me, but hate or love towards the daily practice, or whatever, in the comments below, and connect with others, see what their experience is as well. So enjoy January, guys. Enjoy 2022, and until next time, peace.